Welcome. This is the one where you learn to question your beliefs in a good way. We're going to learn about limiting beliefs, what they are, how we got them, and how they're affecting our lives today. Limiting beliefs are the silent partners of fear, and they both shape how we show up in the world. If you've already been through the lesson on fear, I'm sure you saw the damaging role that fear can play in our thoughts and in our actions. In this lesson, we're peeling back another layer on the subconscious programming that is always at work in the back of our mind, your beliefs. Let's start with a foundational truth. Your beliefs create your reality. I'm not sure if you knew that, but it's true. Your thoughts become your beliefs become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your life. If you want to dig more into this science on this topic, I recommend you follow a man named Dr. Joe Dispenza. He is the expert on the science, and his work is the foundation for most of this lesson. So, beliefs are like software running in the background of your mind. They're thoughts you keep on thinking. They're thoughts you've thunk so much that you've accepted them as truth. Without question, beliefs are a habit that is unconscious, that once we drill down into the ones you have, you're going to be amazed at how silly, absurd, limiting, or damaging some of them really are. You see, some beliefs support us and we're happy that they're a habit. They can be beliefs like the world is a friendly place or animals are kind. But others, well, they severely limit us. They keep us stuck and they hold us back from the life we say we want to live. And they do all of that without us even realizing it. So I said limiting beliefs are parallel to fear. Well, limiting beliefs are born out of fear. They start as these mental protections that develop from life experiences or from teachings, but instead of helping us, they restrict us. I like to think of these limiting beliefs as thorns. That's how Michael Singer describes them in my favorite book, The Untethered Soul. He explains that if we don't start to recognize these beliefs as the painful thorns that they are and pluck them out or untangle them, as we like to call them here, then we're at risk of spending our entire lives avoiding anything that might touch the thorn or letting the thorn wreak havoc with infection inside of us by letting it sit there and just brew. The thorn, or the limiting belief, can work just like fear in that it can keep you safe from unwanted feelings or rejection or failure or uncertainty. But it can also poison our lives so much that it's influencing all the things we must stay away from. And it's robbing us from people, experiences, and opportunities that can bring us all the joy, growth, and connection we crave deep down inside. So, I'm going to share a couple of stories to illustrate how beliefs form and how they can guide us, often without us even questioning them. First, there's a story of a newlywed couple. For months, the wife made her family's traditional ham recipe, always cutting the ends off because that's how her mom did it and her mom before that. And all the women in her life and her family did it. Well, one day her husband surprised her after a long week at work by making a meal. But as she walked in to a beautifully set table, romantic candles, and a smiling husband behind her own yellow apron, she looked over his shoulder to see that he was cooking the ham. And the ends were on. Without even questioning what she was about to do, she began insisting that he cut off the ends of the ham, saying it wouldn't cook right otherwise. He then insisted that he didn't see any reason to do that. And upon questioning her, she got so angry at him that they ended up fighting and they didn't eat their meal together at all. She went in her bedroom, slammed the door, called her mom for backup and reassurance. And her mom laughed and said, "Honey, we only cut the ends off the ham because we never had a pan big enough to hold a ham big enough to feed our family. So we always just cut the ends off because they were the least missed in the whole ham." The woman's belief about the ham was not about cooking at all. It was inherited, unquestioned, and ultimately, I hope you can agree, completely unnecessary. Think about what she missed out on being consumed with the way the ham was cooked. Can you see it? The romance, the loving gesture, the fact that her husband saw her stressful week and showed up to support her. She missed out on all of that and ruined the night, only to find out that she had a belief about something that was just not true. So now I'm going to tell you a little more personal story. When I was 13, I broke a rule that landed me in a terrifying situation that shaped a core belief that I carried around with me for decades. I'd gone somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. I was with people I wasn't supposed to be with. Typical early teenager things. It was supposed to be an ordinary day. But when I was in this place I wasn't supposed to be in, a man started approaching me in his car. He was asking for directions, but something about the scenario and his demeanor and everything I'd learned up until that point just didn't feel right. My gut told me to run, but while I contemplated if that was actually the right thing to do, the man got out of the car and started chasing me. In that moment, my body went into overdrive. My heart was pounding and I could barely breathe. I was in flight, and that was a good thing. I ran as fast as I could, eventually ducking into a neighbor's house, and I lost him. I remember shaking uncontrollably for hours and unable to fully process what had just happened because of some limiting beliefs that I had. I never told my parents because I was too afraid I'd get in trouble for breaking the rules. I never called the police because I was too afraid they would tell my parents. I was somewhere that I wasn't supposed to be. I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing. So I buried that fear in the entire experience and I just moved on. But that day left a mark on me far deeper than I realized at the time. My young, unexperienced mind took the fear and the trauma of that event and turned it into a belief. The belief was breaking rules is unsafe. With my childlike reasoning, I was only 13, the danger of that day became directly tied to my choice to disobey. I was only in that situation because I broke the rules, I told myself. Not the man was bad. Not that I was almost kidnapped and I was a badass for listening to what everyone had told me about stranger danger and running all those years in the 1980s. But I had broke a rule and I endangered myself. And because I didn't share what happened, I never had an opportunity to process or challenge that belief system. I never had any other opinion given to me about what really happened. I never had anybody edified my strengths, and what arose of me that day got me to safety. It simply settled into my subconscious brain as truth, firm and sharp, that breaking rules is unsafe. So for years after that, I rigidly followed the rules, even when it made no logical sense to me that there were these rules. I didn't even question them. If there was a rule, I obeyed it, period. And if you broke a rule and we were friends, I had so much judgment that we couldn't be friends anymore. I left events and parties and situations because people were breaking rules. At the time, I thought that belief served me well. It really felt like it kept me safe and prevented me from putting myself in potentially harmful situations. And sometimes it did. That rule acted like a protective shield, but I clung to it because it made me feel safe and secure. As I grew older, that belief stopped serving me in the same way. Instead of just keeping me safe, it started limiting me. It gave me anxiety, which I now understand, anxiety about new situations, new people, new challenges, new situations. For years, I followed the rules blindly, even when my instincts or my life experiences told me it was okay to challenge or bend them. I avoided taking risks. I avoided stepping out of my comfort zone because my mind automatically associated any deviation from the rules with danger, and I didn't know it was happening. Even opportunities that could have helped me grow or thrive were missed because they felt unsafe under this deeply ingrained belief that breaking rules is unsafe. And to make it worse, I also developed a deep rooted fear that there were unspoken rules that I didn't even know about, and that I was always just one wrong action away from breaking those too. Imagine living that kind of life where you're in fear of things you don't even know exist yet. So here's the thing, beliefs like this often start with good intentions. They're formed to protect us, and in many cases they do. But over time, if we don't revisit our old beliefs and use our new knowledge and life experience to reevaluate them, they can start holding us back instead of keeping us safe. They might no longer apply to us. And the problem is, most of us don't even realize they're there. These beliefs are running in the background, just like how we learn that fears are running like software on a computer. So are limiting beliefs. They're like a virus protection program. They keep us out of dangerous websites or files, but they're not always right. Have you ever clicked on it and realized this isn't a dangerous site? I really do want to go there, and you have to override it? These limiting beliefs are quietly influencing our decisions and our actions without us even being aware. And they could be keeping us from seeing or experiencing things that could really serve us well in our lives and in the lives we want to create for ourselves. So it wasn't until much later in my life that I began to untangle this belief. I started to question it. And when I longed for more in my life that I currently had, I felt this huge conflicting energy about it. I couldn't figure out why I had this conflict. So I went to therapy. And in therapy, I started to question, was every rule really designed to keep me safe? Were there moments when breaking a rule or at least bending it might actually be the right thing to do? I was starting to see that there was more than black and white, that there was a lot of gray. And I realized I might be living my life in fear of rules that I didn't even know existed because of the possible consequences that could come down on me if I broke them. How crazy is that? So then I realized I had a really amazing gift. It was called discernment. And it's the knowledge and the wisdom that comes from life experiences and age, and the ability to trust our God given instincts to make us see situations and decisions for what they really are, not what they're afraid they could be. In other words, I realized with discernment that I didn't have to follow every rule rigidly out of fear. I could evaluate every situation on its own merits in the moment, and that I, Jackie Catalano, could decide whether the rule applied or whether my instincts and reasoning should just take precedence. The process wasn't easy. Letting go of a belief that had been with me for so long felt like stepping into uncharted territory. My fear of uncertainty was at full tilt, but I learned early on in this journey that you can't fix fear. You can only confront it, walk through it, and untangle it. I now know that as I challenge that belief and others that also came to the forefront of my mind through the exercises like Untangled, I could let go of fear that came with my beliefs. And I could experience the freedom to live my life that I was looking for. I was no longer confined to the safe, predictable lines that I had drawn for myself. While the beliefs are still there because they run so deep for so long inside of me, I now understand that they're just that, beliefs, and that I can control my thoughts and not allow my thoughts to control me. I could still think these things, but I could also push through the discomfort to question them. And I could also step outside my comfort zone and feel safe that my intuition and my discernment was my ultimate guide. I can now take risks and embrace opportunities that once felt too unsafe for me. This is why revisiting our beliefs is so important. Some beliefs, like the one I formed as a kid, start as a way to protect us. And in some ways, they serve us well for a long time. But as we grow and evolve, it's our responsibility to reassess those beliefs and see if they still apply to our lives. If they no longer serve us, we have to know that we can choose to let them go and replace them with a belief that aligns with who we are now and where we want to go. This isn't something we're often taught to do. In fact, many of us don't even realize we have the power to challenge or change our thoughts or beliefs at all. But we do. It takes awareness, courage, and practice, but the rewards are immeasurable. When we let go of our beliefs that no longer serve us, we open up ourselves to growth, freedom, and possibilities we never thought were possible. And that, my friends, is the real gift of this untangling process. Beliefs like these shape our actions, our decisions, and ultimately our lives. And the good news is once we recognize them, we can start to question them and we can learn to live with them and challenge them when they arise, or we can change them completely and take their power away. We're going to get to that process at another time. But for now, it's very important to know where our limiting beliefs come from. So our beliefs don't appear out of thin air. They're actually stitched together from people, experiences, and messages that have shaped our lives since we're born. These influence are often trusted sources, really trusted sources, those we look up to, those we rely on, and those who seem to know more than we do at the time. Let's break this down a little further because it's important to understand just how deeply these sources can shape us without us even realizing it. So, we're going to start with family because it's one of the most influential sources of our beliefs, specifically our parents, but really our entire families. Think of phrases you might have heard growing up, like money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work hard for everything in this life, or what we talk about in this house stays in this house, right? These phrases are likely spoken with the absolute best intentions. Your parents were most likely trying to protect you or prepare you. And more often than not, they were saying things that they had learned from their life experiences and their fears. But over time, they became internalized truths to you, guiding how you view money or success or vulnerability. For example, if you grew up hearing that money was scarce, you might carry a belief that there's never enough money, even when you're really financially stable. Or if your family avoided discussing emotions, you might struggle to express your own as an adult because it was just not what you did. Cultural influences are another big place that we get our beliefs, and they stem from that family or our parents, right? Culture, like the air we breathe, is ingrained in our lives, and we don't even notice that it's there. A lot of us grew up in cultures that taught us to prioritize other people above ourselves, sometimes to the point of self sacrifice. Family comes first, no matter what, they could have said. Or even good girls don't cause trouble. Or you shouldn't put your own needs above anybody else's. Or don't say that, you're going to make her feel bad. While these messages might promote values like loyalty and kindness, they can also lead to burnout and resentment and really the inability for us to set boundaries, which we're going to talk about in future lessons. Culturally ingrained beliefs often make us feel guilty for prioritizing our own happiness, even when doing so is essential for our well being. These beliefs are so deep rooted and often so multi generational that they're one of the hardest to untangle, challenge, and reframe. But it's possible. I come from a big Italian family and I no longer align with many of the beliefs, and I have to do things for the sake of the family. I have the tools now to do what's necessary to protect my own well being first while still showing everybody in my life love and respect and appreciation for our cultural gifts. It's time that we take back the power of these beliefs, and we have to recognize what they are and that they're there first. Next, we have educators. Teachers have such a big impact on our beliefs, especially during our childhood when we're like sponges and we absorb every word around us. A single comment from a teacher can stick with you forever. Things like, you're just not a math person, or you're too quiet, you need to speak up more, or you speak too much, you need to be more quiet, or you'll never get anywhere if you don't try harder. While some feedback from our teachers can be constructive, it's often misinterpreted by young minds. For example, if a teacher criticized your math skills, you might develop this limiting belief that you're just bad at math and avoid anything involving numbers for years. Even if that belief isn't true, you believe the teacher over yourself. I still remember coming home one day and challenging my mother because my third grade teacher had a differing opinion than her. I was convinced that my teacher was right and my mother was wrong. Until my mother went to back to school night and cleared it up, I did not believe my mother could be smarter than my teacher. That's how much influence my teacher had. You can ask Nancy Villa, she'll still tell you the story that she was right. Next is our friends. Have you ever heard you are the average of the five people you spend the most time with? Well, if you haven't, now you have, and it's true. The people we surround ourselves with shape how we see the world, and most importantly, how we see ourselves. They shape what we do and what we say and what we wear. If your friends are critical or judgmental, you could develop a belief that you're not good enough or that you need to change to fit in. And you might see the world through the same kind of lens that they do, even though you never did before. If your friends are adventurous, you might believe the world is full of opportunities, or you might be challenged to be adventurous too. The tricky part is that these influences aren't always obvious. We absorb the values and the perspectives of the people closest to us without even realizing it. When they say you are the company you keep, they mean it with or without you realizing it. And then there's media. This one's big in today's age. There's advertisers, TV shows, movies, and then there's social media. And they're all shaping our beliefs in subtle but powerful ways. They're masters at creating needs that we didn't even know we had. They are so good at it. Think about toothpaste commercials that convinced us minty freshness equaled clean teeth. That wasn't always a thing, it was marketed to us. I learned that in a book called The Power of Habit, and it changed my entire view on what I believed from marketing. Our beauty standards, the constant portrayal of the flawless skin, the perfect body, they plant these dangerous beliefs that we are not good enough as we are. And social media just amplifies it. It shows us highlight reels of everybody's lives, fueling beliefs like I'm falling behind, I'm not enough, I need to do more, or I'm not as successful as I should be. These media influences are huge in us shoulding all over ourselves. And finally, perhaps the most powerful source of our beliefs is our own personal experiences and our environment. A single painful moment can shape how we view ourselves and the world for years, sometimes even decades, or our environment where we grow up in our socioeconomic status. It has a huge say in what our belief system is. If you experienced heartbreak, you might develop a belief that love always ends in pain. If you grew up in poverty and listened to people tell you there was no way out and this was life, you might feel you could never, ever rise above it. If you failed at something important in your own life, you might believe that you are not capable of success if nobody was there to step in and tell you that failure is part of growth. Or if you were embarrassed in public as a child, you might carry this belief that speaking up is dangerous or shameful. It's these moments of our personal experiences and our environment that have become etched into our memory, and our brain uses them as these reference points over and over again to try to protect us from future pain. It's like building this protective wall around pieces of our life, but that wall will also keep us from going out and not just from letting them in. So there's a new lens that we can look at for our beliefs. The beliefs we absorb from these trusted sources, they operate beneath the surface. They're guiding our decisions and our behaviors without us even realizing it. They become the default settings of our mind. But here's the thing, just because a belief feels familiar doesn't mean it's true. Or if it was once true, it doesn't mean it's true anymore or that it can possibly serve your life right now. Think about beliefs like a pair of glasses. Over time, the lenses can get scratched or foggy or filled with gook, and it distorts how the world looks to us. If we never take those glasses off to clean them, or try on a new pair, or get new lenses, we're going to continue to see things through a distorted lens that we don't even realize. How many of you had a pair of glasses that once you cleaned them, you were like, I can't even believe that's what I was looking out of? This is why revisiting our beliefs is so important. It allows us to clean the lenses. It allows us to examine whether they still fit with who we are and the life we want to create. Most people don't know they have the power to revisit these beliefs. But here's the truth, beliefs are not set in stone. They're not rules you have to follow for the rest of your life. You have the ability to question them, to challenge them, and to decide if they still align with your values and goals. Think of it this way, beliefs are like training wheels. They serve as a purpose and they help us navigate the world. Eventually, we're going to outgrow them. The problem is, many of us never take the training wheels off. We hold on to them because they kept us safe, but now they're holding us back. Think about all the places you can't ride a bike if you still had on the training wheels. Revisiting our old belief requires discernment in order for us to grow and progress in letting them go. It's about using our current knowledge and our life experience to decide whether something is true or not true any longer. A belief like money doesn't grow on trees might have helped you learn the value of a dollar when you were a kid. But as an adult, it really can limit your abilities, change your energy and your vibration, and prevent you from being able to attract financial abundance. Belief like you can't trust anyone might have protected you from heartbreak at some point, but now it could be preventing you from meeting the love of your life. By revisiting these beliefs, you give yourself permission to grow beyond them. You're no longer confined by the rules of the past. You can create new beliefs that align with the life you want to live at any point. And that, my friends, is where true freedom begins. So today, you're going to begin the process of identifying your own limiting beliefs, the ones that might be holding you back without you even realizing it. This is a self paced exercise, so feel free to pause the recording as needed and take your time or just listen through and then go to your workbook afterwards and fill in your chart. In your workbook, you're going to find a few pages titled Limiting Beliefs. There's a list for the areas of your lives scientifically studied to have the most influential beliefs that plague our growth process. Studies show, we know I love that term, that our beliefs about money, relationships, health, career, and beliefs about ourselves, called core beliefs, affect us most. So, first, you're going to listen or read through the most common limiting beliefs in each of those categories. I'm not going to go through them all here, but I'll give you enough to get your mind working to find the ones that might be most relevant to you. Usually, we hear something and it makes us think of our own. Your job is to jot down the beliefs that are relevant to you in each of these areas. The ones that really hit home as something you would say or think, or something you know you heard somewhere in your life that has influenced you and the decisions you've made. And then finally, you're going to try to identify the source of that belief. Do you remember hearing or feeling that idea from your parents or your family or your teachers or your coaches or TV? Or do you remember from personal experience that led you to moments that you decided that belief was true? Or do you remember just understanding and feeling by being in your environment or your culture that something was a yes or a no in your belief system? So you're going to grab your workbooks, and as I begin to read some of these beliefs, you're going to start to just jot down or think about which ones are relevant to you. Okay, so we're going to begin with beliefs about money. These hold an important place in our lives because the value we give money is very strong as human beings. Limiting beliefs about money might be why you're not earning as much as you'd like to, or maybe you can't buy all the things you want, or maybe you feel stuck financially. These beliefs could even hold you back from big dreams like starting a business, reaching financial freedom. As I read through some common money beliefs, I want you to jot down what resonates with you. And if you think of others, just write those down too. This is just a list to spark your awareness. All right, let's dive in. Money is the root of all evil. Do you have this feeling that thinking money is bad or that trying to get more of it makes you a bad person? There's never enough money, always feeling like money is scarce and constantly worrying about not having enough. Or I'm not good with money. Maybe you feel like you just can't manage your finances or you don't make smart money decisions. Or I don't deserve to have money. Maybe you think you're not worthy of financial success because of something someone said or did or an experience you had. Money is hard to come by. Maybe you feel like money is this constant uphill battle to have, or I'll never be able to get out of debt. Have you ever believed that debt is just going to be part of your life and there's no way out of it? That's a limiting belief. Saving my money is most important. How many of you have been told to save for a rainy day and you really can't enjoy the money that you've worked so hard for and you have so much of? Or I'm not capable of earning a high income. Maybe you doubt your ability to earn more than a certain amount of money because something that someone said or did in your life has left that effect on you. Success means sacrificing personal happiness, maybe believing that financial success comes at the expense of your well being, or I can't afford that. Those are one of those terms that has that energy that is just going to attract negative things. It makes you feel like your dreams and your goals are completely financially out of reach. And if we believe that, they are going to be. Where money doesn't buy happiness. Believing that having more money isn't going to improve the quality of your life or bring you joy because someone told you that. Making money is hard, always feeling like it's an exhausting effort, or we don't talk about money in this house. Maybe thinking conversations about money are off limits or uncomfortable or shameful. All right, so that's money. If you need to pause this, pause it and do your money exercise. Next, we're going to talk about relationships. From the moment we're born, we're building relationships, starting with family and expanding to friends, classmates, partners. Relationships are vital to our lives, but how they affect us often depends on the beliefs we carry around about them. Here are some common limiting beliefs about relationships. Think about whether any of these sound familiar or if you've caught yourself saying or feeling any of these. Some really might seem harmless, but when you start to analyze them, you really can see how deeply rooted and shaping they can show up in your life and your current relationships. Okay, so here's some. I'm not worthy of love or feeling unlovable or undeserving of love. I always attract the wrong partners, or believing that you have this pattern of unhealthy relationships, or I can't trust anybody, feeling a struggle to be yourself or be vulnerable, or love is always conditional, believing that love only exists with string attached, or I'll be abandoned if I express my true self. Kind of along the same lines, fearing this rejection if you're your authentic you, or I can't handle relationships because of all the drama, avoiding disagreements, fearing that anything's going to cause a breakup or being left behind from your relationships. Or I can't handle another breakup, thinking that the end of a relationship is going to destroy you. Right. And then there's the beliefs about family relationships. I'm not good enough for my family, or I'll never measure up to what they expect from me. Or family is supposed to come before everything, right? Even my own happiness, believing you have to sacrifice your own well-being for the sake of the larger family. Or I'm responsible for my family's happiness and taking that weight of everybody else's emotional well-being on yourself. Or I can't express my true feelings to my family, feeling like it's unsafe or unacceptable to share how you feel because somehow you're going to be rejected for that. Or I can't set boundaries with my family, believing that it's impossible to protect your time, your energy, or your emotional space from the people that you're with. So, do any of these sound familiar? If so, take a minute and ask yourself, are these beliefs helping me or holding me back? Do they feel like high vibrational energy or low vibrational energy? What is having these kind of beliefs attracting to me in my life? And remember, just because something has always been a certain way doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. We have the power to reevaluate and create healthier dynamics in our lives. All right, so we have a few more categories of limiting beliefs. We're going to go right now to the limiting beliefs about health. For many of us, the idea of getting healthy, it feels overwhelming and like it requires this total life overhaul. Remember the saying, you're going to do more to avoid pain than to seek pleasure. Always. So, what really holds us back in the area of beliefs about health is if we carry these beliefs about what's impossible for us or what's really difficult for us. We're not going to step into the activities that break through these belief systems if we believe that it's going to be so much pain. So try and think if maybe you've said, I don't have time for exercise. I don't have time for healthy habits. These beliefs convince us that we're too busy. But really, the truth is, small, consistent changes can make a big difference. Or a belief of, I'll never achieve my goal weight, or I can't stay at my goal weight. That feeling of being defeated before we even start can keep us from making progress. We're embarrassed about the pain we're gonna go through from failing. It's that fear of failure jumping in. Or healthy habits are too expensive, right? Sure, some healthy options can be pricey, but there are a lot of affordable ways that we can take care of ourselves. And with a little creativity and time, energy, and resources, we can make that happen too. Or I'll start being healthy tomorrow, right? It's the classic procrastination trap. But tomorrow becomes next week, and so on and so on. And that is a limiting belief. Why not today? I'm too old to change my habits now. Well, guess what? It's never too late. Every little improvement adds up, and we know that, no matter how old we are. So, if any of these sound familiar, take a moment to reflect on how these and the other beliefs in the health area really might be holding you back. Because the truth is, small intentional actions can lead to big shifts over time. And we can challenge these beliefs and remind ourselves that health is a lifelong journey and not a race. And a lot of these painful feelings of rejection and failure are not going to come if we see it through a different lens. And so next, we're going to talk about core beliefs. So, core beliefs are the things that we believe about ourselves, and they really affect everything our choices, our happiness, and how we show up in the world. And here's the truth, you talk to yourself more than anyone else ever will be. So, wouldn't it make sense to be nice to yourself? Unfortunately, most of us aren't. Studies show, you guys, that a big chunk, about 80% of what we say to ourselves is negative. You guys, that's a lot of damaging, stinking thinking and unhelpful self talk that's robbing us from joy, peace, and happiness. And we deserve to be happy. Core beliefs about ourselves shape our confidence, our self worth, our ability to love and to be loved, and even what we believe we're capable of doing, being, or having. They shape everything. But here's the thing, most of these beliefs are just stories we have picked up somewhere along the way, And those stories are just not true. I like to say now, if I'm going to tell myself a story, I'm going to make it a good one because either way, it's not the truth, right? We have to let go some of these common limiting beliefs so that we can learn to free ourselves. So I'm going to read some, and as you hear them, ask yourself, does this sound like something I might be saying to myself, even though I don't even realize that I'm doing it? The first one is, I'm no good. I'm just no good. We have this deep rooted belief that we are no good. We're not good at this. We're not good at that. We're not a good wife. We're not a good mother. We're not good at a good daughter. We are not good. How about I'm not cut out for this? Have you ever had a moment where you're at work or you're parenting or you're doing something with a friend or you're in a really frustrating situation and you say, I'm just not cut out for this? That is a limiting core belief. We can be cut out for anything that we decide to do. How about I don't fit in? I don't fit in is something that plagues our minds, running like software in the back of our minds every time we enter a room, a party, a gathering, anywhere. And we avoid situations because we expect rejection and we don't want to feel the rejection. So we protect ourselves of it by telling ourselves an untruth that we don't fit in. How about no one likes me or no one loves me? I know some of us have heard our kids say that when they're feeling sorry for themselves. And really, all they're asking for is approval. They feel unlovable. We do that to ourselves. We may think that just because someone has a differing opinion than us, that they don't like us or they don't love us. But that's not true. We have to remember that other people are dealing with their own limiting beliefs as well. They have these judgmental people in their brains screaming out at them too. It's not them that doesn't love you. It's their inner critic. It's their inner beliefs. It's not them. We are lovable beyond belief. We are likable beyond belief. And if we don't feel that way, we can choose a room where we do feel that way. How about I'll never be good enough, right? We talked about I'm not good enough, but how about I'll never be good enough? And it's this setting impossible standards for ourselves and then beating ourselves up when we don't meet them. Or I always let people down. Sometimes people have disappointment. That's theirs, you guys. It has nothing to do with us. And we can't take that on when people are disappointed by our actions. If we show up with intention and with 100% integrity in a situation and give effort, it is not ours if they feel disappointed by what we have brought to the table. How about I can't get it together, or I hate myself, or I'll never make it in this world, or there must be something wrong with me, right? How many of us have thought there must be something wrong with me, right? How about there might be something wrong with everybody else? We have this core belief that we're missing something, or that we don't understand things, or that we're going to answer wrong. It's all tied to those fears of rejection and failure and uncertainty, and it's just not true. And then there's I'll never be happy or I don't deserve it. And I'll end on those because the truth is, we always have a choice to be happy and to focus on the things that make us happy, and we do deserve it. God put us on this planet to have a life that is amazing, and everything that comes to us or could come to us is our right, and we do deserve it. So some of these beliefs might feel familiar, but remember, they're not truths. They're just this old programming, these stories that we've told, or these experiences that might have shaped how we saw ourselves at one time in our lives. And now they are running like software in the back of your brain, controlling every thought, belief, habit, action that you are doing. And now it's time to challenge these beliefs. So, for all of the beliefs you recognize, I want you to ask yourself, where did they come from? Was it something someone said? Was it an experience that left an impression on me? Most importantly, does this belief serve me anymore? The good news is we're going to rewrite these stories. It all starts with awareness. And that's what this lesson was all about. It's about recognizing these beliefs so that you can begin to replace them with ones that lift you up instead of holding you back. Feel free to pause this recording if you need more time to reflect or write on these beliefs and how they play out in your life. You can fill out the chart, but remember the goal is to notice which beliefs resonate, which ones you know exist for you, and then try and figure out just where they might have come from. Once we identify our most damaging and ingrained limiting beliefs, we're going to try to become more aware of how they might be showing up in our everyday lives and what they're stealing from us. You might even want to journal about it if journaling is something you like to do. There's a page in your workbook that talks about limiting beliefs. And at the bottom of the page, it asks, what is this costing me? Think about how often these beliefs are jumping into your brain. Think about how they're influencing your life. Think about how they're shaping your decisions and your relationships and your career and how you see yourself. And think about what they might be costing you or have cost you over the years because you believe them, not knowing that they were there. And just remember, awareness is the first step to change. And that's what these lessons are all about. Helping you create awareness to this old software running in the background of your life is the key to untangling. Once we're aware of a belief, we can begin to untangle from it. And in upcoming lessons, we're going to learn how to reframe these beliefs and create new ones that replace them, that align with the life we want to live, the life we're choosing to create. So I know this work isn't easy, but it's so worth it. Limiting beliefs might feel like they've been part of you forever, but remember, they're just thoughts you've thunk so much that they've become truth. And now we have the power to rewrite them. So I'll leave you with this. Gandhi said, your thoughts become your beliefs become your words become your actions become your habits, and your habits become your destiny. What destiny do you want to create? It starts here with awareness, reflection, and a little bit of courage to make the changes.